questions as they come up. I try to get some videos, some animations in here, provided everything works correctly. But yeah, ask questions because I will find the answer and it'll make me better. So, 3-umpire system. The basic principles are to box players in. So you always want an umpire ahead of and behind the runner. That's principle number one. Communicate. You have to have both verbal and nonverbal communication. And a lot of that comes down to just making a decision on whether or not to go out or where you're going, and then reading your partner. The best way to be good at 3-person umpiring is pause, read, react. And part of that read is your partner as well as the baseball. Make sure you know what your partner's doing and then fill in the holes that are created by somebody doing something that is either unanticipated, occurs later than you think it should, or they just do something they're not supposed to do and you're like, oh crap, somebody's got to be here because the next play is there. If you know 2-man mechanics, you'll figure out 3-man mechanics. If you know 3-man mechanics, you'll be good at 4-man mechanics. And it kind of, so that they're all built off the 2-umpire system. So make sure that we have a good grasp of the 2-person mechanics, and then we can figure out the 3-person mechanics. Okay, it froze. Okay, so nobody on. Basic setup, right? The plate umpire has responsibility for fair or foul down both lines if the ball stops or is touched before getting to the front edge of the base, of first or third base. So highlighted in red here, right? So we have it all the way up to the front edge of the base. Pre-game this with your partners to make sure everybody's on the same page. The base umpires, U1 and U2, then have the front edge of the base all the way to the wall for fair or foul responsibility, as long as it continues beyond the bag, right? So a ground ball that ends up beyond third base, third base umpire has the fair or foul call with nobody on. If the ball lands beyond third base, it first touches the ground, the base umpire has responsibility for fair or foul there as well. That makes sense to everybody? So our basic setup, obviously our plate umpires at the plate, right? That's pretty self-explanatory there. U1, or the first base umpire, should be 6 to 8 feet behind the first baseman in foul territory and square to home plate. The rule of thumb, 6 to 8 feet, essentially if they have to step and dive back towards you to catch a foul ball, you want to be able to avoid being hit by either the ball or the fielder. You should be able to see the fielder's inside shoelaces on their shoes, so you can see that scoop catch out in front of them, right? So make sure that 6 to 8 feet is somewhere where you can see that inside foot, the top of the shoe of that inside foot of that first or third baseman. The rule of thumb, it's not always going to be perfect. Now, if the first baseman, I'll show you this here in a second if I can get my annotations pull up. So if our first baseman is playing here, right, or here, I don't need to be 6 to 8 feet behind them if they're playing way out here, if they're shifted off the line, because there's no point in me being back there, right? So I will creep up based on how far away that baseman is from the line. First baseman or third baseman is from the line. If they're way off the line and they can't catch me in a step and dive, I'm probably going to be even with them because they're way, way, way out there, right? I'm talking like 15 to 20 feet off the line, because I can adjust and I can react to that ball hit down the line, and I'm not going to interfere with their ability to catch the ball. If they're playing tight to the line, if they're in here, I'm probably going to be 6 to 8 feet, maybe a little bit more depending on the player and what, if it's a lefty versus a righty, if the batter's behind the pitch, I may be a little bit deeper. And it's all a feel, right? It's a rule of thumb that puts you in a good position, but ultimately you have to adjust based on what's happening on the field. If you listen to today's presentation and you stand in position A, position B, position C, like on the spot, and if you're not spot every time, you're going to miss a lot. You're going to be out of position a lot. You're going to interfere with a lot of stuff. Go to where you need to be in position to make the call you need to make. The third base umpire, again, 6 to 8 feet roughly behind the third baseman, in foul territory and square to home plate. How you set up is different every time. You know, I'm pretty consistent. If I'm at first base, I'm a step and lean when the pitcher starts his delivery. Third base, I'm the same way. Some guys will work from the box. It really depends on what position you want to be in as far as your pre-pitch routine goes, but have one so you're adjusting every play. The first baseman moves up, we go up. The first baseman moves back, we move back, and adjust as you go. Any questions so far? All right. All right, so ball hit at the infield. No runners on. The plate umpire has fair foul, just like normal, right? Nobody on. We have both lines up to the base. If we need to rule fair foul, we rule fair foul. Then we'll move up the line, observing for runner lane interference, full foot swipe tag. And then we also have responsibility for overthrows at first and third because we're already on the outside, right? And by responsibility, I mean that ball staying in play, hitting a bucket, being interfered with, whatever the case may be. We have responsibility for ruling on that ball. U1 using the 2-4-6 rule. So second baseman, 2 steps towards the second baseman. Shortstop, 4 steps towards the shortstop. 6 steps towards the third baseman. So 2, 4, 6. I forgot if I click, it does that. But so get in position for the play at first base, right? Field a ground ball. If that ball takes the second baseman to the hole, so if we go, if that ball's hit here, right? Or here, I am going to step back towards the second baseman and then turn my body towards first base, keeping my head on the fielder. So then all I have to do is turn my head for that play. Because if I come here, I may be in the way of that throw. It also takes me longer to get my head turned on a bang bang play, and it'll blow up on me if I go inside as opposed to deeper. So get deep and create that angle to where you have to move your head at the minimal amount possible in order to get a read on that play at first base. You're going to see here in a second how everybody works. Once the ball is fielded, you two should work towards position B, because position B is your next position on a routine ground ball to first. A routine ground ball to the infield with no runners on. So, ground ball's hit. U1 steps in to make the play. U2 works towards position B. And the plate umpire is going to work up the line, right? That makes sense to everybody? Any questions so far? Awesome. Jake, is there anything else on this routine that I need to clarify?
You know, I've had the 3-man games that I've had this year. You know, one of the questions that I've had get asked of me a couple times is, you know, as U3, or I guess U2 on your screen there, you know, how are we coming into the infield? I've always kind of followed the rule of thumb that if it's going to be that on a routine play, I'm going to come in. You know, I'm gonna come in with some. I'm gonna take a relatively direct line, but I'm not gonna be, you know, sprinting in. I'm gonna be moving a little bit more aggressively on a more difficult play, or on a play that I might read as this is going to be a ball that could be overthrown, and so I'm going to read the fielder on that. Yeah. So I guess the how fast I get into the infield working area, it all depends on the type of ground ball that's hit.
move with a purpose, be ready to sprint, but you don't have to start from a sprint.
Guys, here's another idea that's recently been proposed, I've heard of. Remember about this track system or this wedge theory of taking plays, not only at the plate, but at other bases? It wouldn't be bad if on that overthrow, you too would stay on the outside of second base. And now the throw from that overthrow comes to him, directly at him, and he's not looking over his shoulder from position B or the cutout, where he's watching the runner come right at him. So think about that. You'd be taking that from behind the left field side of second base. Something like that.
Yeah, definitely, Larry. That's something that is, I would consider a little bit more of an advanced technique, which I don't teach that.
But
yeah, for sure. That's definitely something to take into consideration is you taking that play from the backside of the base. And that's something that I do. So something to think about there.
Hey Connor, mind if I ask a question here?
Yeah.
That is 100% the best spot to be. Maybe no different than, what we call the wedge or whatever at home plate where your third baseline extended. And if you do the wedge properly as that second baseman or shortstop kind of pivots towards the runner, you might end up swinging out almost to second base, third base line. You almost swing out 90 degrees to try and catch that tag, depending on where the throw is. Do you follow me there?
Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
So you're going to work it just like you work a play at the plate.
Yep, exactly. The only question I have, and it's maybe rhetorical, what happens if that ball gets away and now you have to beat the runner to third? That would be, to me, that'd be the only downside of taking that play. I mean, you've got the absolute 100% best position there at second, but now all of a sudden the play develops at third. If your plate guy is going up the line to watch swipe tags up the first base line, that's your call. You might put yourself in no man's land. Just curious, what would your approach be there?
Yeah, that's definitely a consideration. I think that goes back to just knowing partner awareness.
Yep.
If I'm a plate umpire, and I know that man, that's tough.
I mean,
it's asking a lot of your plate umpire.
Well, right. I mean, and if me being U3 or U2 in this case, I'm probably knowing that, after I, say the little 4-letter word under my breath, I'm probably just beating cheeks to the pitcher's mound to try and get the best angle I can on that play at third and just hoping for the best.
Yeah, because your plate umpire's not going to be able to get there.
No, and I wouldn't expect him to. He's not going to get any better look than I would.
I'm trying to draw an arrow here.
Yeah, I mean, Jesse, I think that's something where, as you got to, like Jake, I was getting ready to say, cut inside, and get an angle, and just do the best you can. Right. The plate umpire is going to be going home.
Correct. Yeah, because you don't want him selling out the third, because then if there's another snowball fight, now he's not at home.
Yeah. Yep.
If you think about it, where's the throw going to be coming from? It's going to be coming from either here or there. So if you're, as the base umpire, if you're able to get, even here, you're going to have a pretty good look in on that.
Yeah, you're kind of keyholed there, the keyhole or whatever, whatever term you want to use. You just might be 50 feet away instead of 20 or 10 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it depends on how good of a read do you get on that baseball, because the batter runner is going to be sliding to second base,
most likely,
unless that throws way off.
Right.
And if he's sliding and once you notice that throws offline, like not catchable, I'm probably not staying still. I'm moving at that point in time. Once I read that ball is not catchable, I'm moving into the middle of the field, because he's going to slide, get up and run. He's not going to square it off. Right.
Yeah. You might be able to
I can
Get
take
beat
3
him
hard
in.
steps and be here as he's sliding and be inside already.
Mhm.
But it ultimately comes down to reading the baseball.
Yeah. Or if you're fat
Oh.
and so like me, you'd be right there to give him a bear hug as he's trying to get to third.
That's all right. Keep him at second. Easier play to umpire.
Right.
I think one thing that we're forgetting to factor in, and we talked about this last week with our safety discussion and just staying safe on the ball field, is what's our distance here? Am I at a ballpark like Renner where I have 15 feet down the line between first base and the fence, or am I somewhere, say, Harmon or Cadwell Park in Mitchell, where I have 30, 35 feet? What's my distance here? Because I'm going to want to know, is there likely going to be a throw as well? I mean, at Renner, I can reasonably assume that we might have a throw. That at where, if I'm working at, say, Cadwell, where there's a much bigger foul territory area, I'm not entirely sure that we're going to have a play there. So know the field as well that you're working on, because that's a huge factor to consider as well.
Yeah, cool. All right. If I can get it to advance. There we go. All right, R1. So our base position for R1. Plate umpire has the same responsibilities, except for now we have the third baseline all the way to the fence for fair foul. So we have everything down the third baseline. U1, same responsibilities, but now we have the additional potential for a pickoff. So U1 is going to be a little bit closer. Okay, so they're probably going to be 6 to 8 feet from first base, square to the pitcher's mound, in a set position, or just like we'd be in the middle of the infield, right? Hands on knees set. I'm going to be on the foul line, not literally on it, but right next to it. I'm going to put my shoe probably 3 or 4 inches from the foul, my inside shoe 3 to 4 inches from the foul line, square to the pitcher. A lot of guys want to be way out here. That doesn't give you any, you're giving up fair foul responsibility if you're there. So make sure that you are still on that foul line in position to rule fair foul. Because you have that foul line from the front edge of the base all the way to the outfield wall. You also have responsibility for the pickoff play in the first, right? The pickoff play, the back pick. And we'll talk about back picks here in a second. U2 is going to be in position B, square to third base dugout. U2 has all responsibility for everything happening at second base. Fair, out, safe, force play slide rule, whatever the case may be, right? All of that is you and you alone. You have no responsibility for the pickoff at first base or the back pick at first base, so don't even look there. If you're going to look there, make it way late, because then they're going to say, well, can you appeal to him? And you're going to say no. So just don't even look there and pick off the first. I like a true B position, being up tighter to the mound, because when that throw comes, I have to turn my body to second base. If I'm deep, I can't turn until that ball passes me. And if I'm deep along the grass line, that play can blow up on me in an instant, right? Because I'm not turning until that ball crosses my field of vision. Whereas if I'm up here, closer to the mound, maybe halfway, maybe a little more than halfway, that ball crosses my field of vision earlier, and I can get set up and see the ball coming in the last 3 feet. I can see the tag. I can see the play coming in. So I have a lot more time to read that play and anticipate a bad throw, a high tag, a tag closer to first base side on a missed throw. So I like to be tighter to the mound. I'm usually like no more than halfway between the mound and second base on this play. If we have R1 being safe, then we have responsibility for R1 at third, because the ball stays in the infield. Jake?
So what I'm working on doing here. So this blue circle is where most mechanics manuals say to be at. My personal setup when I'm working in a 2-umpire system is I'm halfway between the mound and second base right there. And literally all I do is I go one step back because I don't want that play blown up on me. And I see this happen frequently with, where we're not really in a good B position in any system. And so, the importance of being in a good B position is paramount, and, making sure you don't have a play blow up on you is, an element of, in my opinion, good umpiring.
So we talked about that, right? So what happens is you want if we have a back pick, and by back pick I mean a catcher throwing the ball to first base. So if I'm here, I'm paying attention to the plate, right? I also know how far he's off. I know what my first baseman's doing. If your first baseman makes a break towards first base, I am simply going to. That was a terrible decision to choose that one. I'm going to loop around and try to get the first base extended, basically, so I can see that tag coming in. I want that point of that glove coming into the runner, right? So I'm sweeping that glove in. If I can take 1 or 2 steps, get a little bit of foul territory, line up with first base, I'm going to have a lot better look at that play when that ball's coming down. And odds are, if I'm moving this way, I'm probably getting out of the way of the throw. Now, can you still have an errant throw? Absolutely. Which is why we watch the baseball, right? But if I get here, I have a great look at that runner sliding back in. I have this wedge here where I can see that. I can't see that from back here.
Hey, Connor, question for you. Are you only going to do that when the ball is being thrown, or are you going to do that after every single pitch?
I'm going to do that if either fielder makes me think that there might be a throw there. Because there's no point in wasting steps. But if the first baseman dekes him, right, like goes hard towards first, I'm going to be in position because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if he's going to throw it or not. If the catcher comes up like fast, I'm going to get in a position because I'd rather be there. And if I'm there, what does it hurt? If I'm there and the ball's thrown back to the pitcher, I take 2 steps, I'm back in position. But if I'm not there because I don't think it's going to happen, because I think the catcher's deked over 4 times and hasn't thrown it, that's when he's going to throw it. And then I'm going to be going, oh, snap. I'm out of position for a play. So if they give you a reason to go there, go there. If they don't, no need to.
Would your position be any different if it's a right-handed throwing first baseman or a left-handed throwing first baseman?
Nope. Same position every time. Good question, though. All right. Pretty simple.
A word of caution when you guys are doing that. I've had this happen. First base coaches like to go to sleep because they're not used to having an umpire at first base. So when you do take those couple hard steps to line yourself up, that first base coach likes to be right there. So, keep an eye on him just in case you guys end up bumping into each other.
Yeah, that's something that I guess I didn't talk about in the initial positioning. Is I always will make it a point to talk to coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Like the first time they come out and just say, hey, especially in the three umpire system, it's a lot different. I'm gonna say, hey, there's gonna be a chance we're gonna be working in the same area. I need room to work. You're gonna need room to work. Let's make sure we work together because on this play, I'm gonna come here. And they know, hey, there's an expectation. And usually they're like, okay, well, if I'm in your way, just push me out of the way. And I've had to do that a time or two where I literally just one hand on the coach's shoulder and just guide them out of the way. Now I'm not going to run them over unless they step in and I don't see them. But talk to coaches because they're not used to it. It's weird to them too. It's a great point, Jesse.
Yeah, it is. If you're working the bases, figure out your base coaches' names. I realize that, a lot of umpires have this mentality that the purpose of a first base coach is to collect shin guards and elbow pads. But it's still important to know their name. And And so if I'm coming, like I was working third base at 307 last week, and I know the coach there really, really well. And all it was I had a play coming into I had a steal play coming into third. I swung up. I'm like, Mike, I'm right here. And all of a sudden, just out of the corner of my eye, I just see this movement, and all of a sudden I look, and just because I said, Mike, I'm here, or I'm coming here, he took 2 steps out of his way, and he gave me room to work. Knowing people's names is huge. So make sure you know your first base coach's names if you're working the bases. If you're at third base, know your third base coach.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely helps. So, cool. Good point.
Connor, would you be able to shed any light on U2 in this situation with the R1? There's some rules of thought. I don't agree with it, but there's some rules of thought where U2 would be in the C position. I probably know what you're going to say, but maybe worth bringing up for some of the guys that think that's the best spot.
Okay, well, my question would be, what advantages being in the C position put you in?
Good question.
Answer your question with a question. Make
right, exactly.
Why they think it's that.
Yeah.
There are some advantages. If you're slow as a base umpire in U2, and it's a left-handed hitter, you might be better off, power left-handed hitter, you might be better off in position C.
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
some batters don't like to have an umpire in their vision. So in the days on 4-man crews in Major League Baseball, the umpire 2 was always, even if he was in the outfield, he was always on the side away from the side of the pitcher's arm.
Yeah. 4-man system is a little different because they can work behind the base now, which I am a huge fan of.
I am too.
Because then you can work wherever you want. It doesn't matter because you have a great look at the play. I will tell you, Jesse, though, to answer your question, if you are in position C, I'm going to try to annotate this real quick. So if you're in position C as the umpire, and you have a steal play, there's your shortstop. Here's your base runner. The only look you have is at asses and elbows from position C on a steal play at second base.
Completely agree.
If you're in B, you have a wedge to see that tag play happen. And that's what I tell them. I ask them, why do you work in C? And let them tell me. And if it's I can't get out of the way of a batted ball, work deeper. Or work in a deeper B. It gives you more time to adjust. But the real reason is so you can see that tag occur. Because if that tag happens here, out away from the base, and you're here, you're definitely not going to see it. I mean, if you take 1 or 2 steps because you read the ball being thrown first base side, you might be able to get deep this way and see an angle there. But if that tag's at the base, you're not going to see it. You're guessing. So, I mean, I play around with it every once in a while just to see. Like this year, I tried that moving from side to side based on the hitter, Larry, and I didn't like it because I couldn't see felt like I was guessing half the time. You get that whacker tag play or that big sweeping tag because the shortstop catches it way in front of the base. You don't have an angle on that like you would in position B.
The other thing, or go ahead, Larry.
The likelihood of being able to read that play early and go toward left field to get your wedge is you'd have to be very athletic, and you'd have to have an outstanding mind understanding the game. And we all have been around baseball long. I know I don't have that mind.
And if you're playing and if you're positioning yourself in C because you're slow, you're certainly not going to get that step anyway.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fair point. The one thing that I've always looked at this is, you know, I like seeing consistency. Okay, my head, you know, when I'm working the plate, my slot foot's always in the same spot, my head's always in the same spot. I like seeing plays the same way every single time. I set up in the same spot when I'm in the B position. When I work the B position and I have a steal play, it's one step back and then one step back and to my right at basically, if you're thinking about a clock, like 4 o'clock. And I know
Drop
right
step.
where I'm at. Huh?
Drop step crossover.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my footwork. And it puts me in the same spot every single time. Now, I'm willing to bet that, and I might be stealing a little bit of Connor's thunder here, but we might be talking about how to take a double play at second base here in a little bit, so I'll leave that. But I want consistency here. And so my consistent play here on a steal play is I take it from the B position. You know, like I said, when I set up for a pre-pitch, I'm one step back from where I'm at in the 2 umpire system. And so I adjust my steps accordingly, but that's how I work. And it's consistency. I know exactly what I'm looking for when I step, crossover, and I'm in. I know exactly what's going on, and I know right where my eyes should be. And it doesn't matter if I'm working 2 umpire, 3 umpire, or on the really rare occasion 4 umpire. I'm going to be in the same spot every time to take this play. And that's what I as an umpire want. I know some people might say, "Oh, you know, I'm different. You know, I like doing it, you know, whatever other way." But that's how it works for me.
So to counter Larry's point about the batter not wanting the umpire in his vision and you know, check swings and stuff like that, do we switch back and forth with the 2 umpire system depending on what side the batter is batting on? No, we don't. We're calling check swings on lefties from B all year long in the 2-man system. Why should 3-man be any different and putting yourself out of position? And listening to Jake talk, I set up way deeper than you do in 3-man. I'm on the cutout of the grass. So for steal plays, all I have to do is turn.
Eric,
I don't even step.
Eric, the point that you make, you know, that's what you're saying is exactly what the book does. Okay, if you go in and you look at the minor league manual, if you go look at the high school book, most of them are going to tell you to set up right on the cut of the grass. Okay, there has been a discussion at certain levels of baseball about, is that really the best place? If you remember back, anybody that was doing our 2-man presentation, we talked about how the mechanics were not the be-all, end-all. They're just guidelines and a starting point, but we should adhere to them as close as possible. The thought process for being up further is that we're having more time to get set and in position to take that steal play at second base, because, you know, if the ball has to travel, say 20 feet versus, I want to say, like the cut of the grass is like 7 or 8 feet, you know, I mean, that's 12 feet of ground that ball has to cover. And that's, you know, granted, we're talking a matter of half a second, but that's more time for me as an umpire to get turned around and get set. And so that's the thought process on being up further, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It comes down to personal preference.
That too.
Position B is position B. Cool. All right. Maybe. Oh, yeah. All right. So let's go back and let's talk about double plays real quick. So I think I had it on a different slide and I didn't move it up. So if we have a ball hit to the infield, we have a double play ball. As U2, as a plate umpire, I'm going to go to the baseball, then I'm going to go up the line, right? Make sure it's fielded, because it's a clean base hit. I got to rotate up to third, which we'll talk about. But I'm going to go towards the baseball and then back to the line. As you want, or you two, I am going to. I'm already in position where I want to be to field to roll a double play ball. I'm simply going to turn and work closer to the base, because I want to see the transfer. I want to see the path that the base runner is sliding in, and I want to just be in position. Because they're going to come this way, right? Everything's moving this direction. I want to get in here to see this angle, the same angle I'd have on a steel play. Jake, you agree with that?
Oh yeah.
You're going to work in here.
As far as, so on a double play, sorry, I was looking at an email. So what we're saying is on a double play, we're going to always, are we saying we're always taking this from the B side of the field?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm always going to work around to the B side of the base. No matter where I'm going to work in here.
I've heard multiple theories on this. One theory that I've heard is that, the base umpire, or I should say you two in this situation, should be looking at the glove on the transfer, versus taking it from. So what Connor's drawn on the screen here, and what I'm referring to. So say we have a ground ball hit to third base. So which we know from our baseball mindset that the second baseman is going to take that throw. So which direction is F4's glove going? It's going to be facing the C side of the field, third base side. And so the thought process, which some operate under, is that you want to be on the C side of the field facing the open side of the glove and shift across. I can't say I've really gotten to work enough 3-man to really develop an opinion. I just know that's a thought process on it. Larry, you got any thoughts on that?
I don't think that makes much difference to me. I think what you really need to do is see the legal slide or illegal slide. And that's much better on the B side to see that than it is moving over to the C. If you move toward your left, toward left field, you're not watching, you don't see the runner coming. And you won't either when you stay on the B side, but you'll have more distance to watch his slide. You'll be closer to first to watch his slide. And if you're operating under high school or college rules, you have to know that. Pro rules is quite a bit different in that they still only really need to be able to reach the bag, basically.
Yeah. The key thing with you two on double plays, or youth, yeah, we're calling them you two because we have a plate umpire. So I need to be able to make sure that my base runner runs in a direct line, slides in a direct line between first and second base. Okay. Right? So direct line. Legs and buttocks down or chest down in a direct line between first and second. Which is the same line that in a 2-man system why I said as a plate umpire I come to this side because I have a better angle at that play. As you two, be patient. There's no rush. We have nothing else to do on this play but hang out. So let the throw go before you even make a call. Like, just be patient. Make a decision. Throw's released. Yes, he's out. Whatever your mechanic is, because all you have is force play side rule and the force play at second base. It's all you got to worry about. Once you do that, okay, then you can listen for the ball hitting the glove, and then you can turn around and look and see what happens and be ready for your next play. But I like to rotate in towards the line so I can see this. I'm also out of the way, but I got to be able to judge on that force play side rule. as U1, just like a routine play to first base. Step out, get an angle, rule on the play at first. Make a read step if the throw's off. But ultimately, you want to watch that the completion of the play at second base and then turn with a throw. Because there have been a couple plays, and I don't know that I have film for this play, but there's a play in the high school state championship in Kansas, in this like the high 6A, which is the high class, where the U1 had to come get a forced play slide rule because the U2 had a brain fart or something. Because the kid slid way out here. He deviated from his path and slid out here and took out the second baseman.
Remember, you only need the 2 steps maximum, because where's the throw originating from? It's coming right from second base. So the largest angle possible is 1 or 2 steps fair. If you stay on the line, you've got the runner coming right at you. If you go further than 2 steps, now you've got a real small angle. So I'm saying take your 2 steps off the line, and that's all you need.
Agreed. All right, good discussion. I think we have time for one more slide, and then we'll postpone it to next week. So, last slide for today. All right, R1, R2. Ball hit to the infield. So ball stays in the infield. That's what we're working on right now. U1, plate umpire, same story, different shovel. U2, now you're in position C because you need to be ahead of the base runner, right? You're going to be square to the first base dugout this time because you're on the other side. It does you no good to be square to the third base dugout. So position C, square to first base. Your depth here, again, personal preference. I like to be probably a third of the way from the line to the mound. So I'm probably 6 or 7 feet off the grass because I want that back picker, that pickoff play. I want to be able to see that angle. I want to be able to see this. That's not the right one. I want to be able to see here. If I'm back here, I have to step up to see that play. So I'm usually somewhere right around where that U2 dot is, probably about where the U is in it. Or right here. So I have a good angle. All I got to do is drop, step, pivot, and I'm in position. Same thing. Same responsibility at second base, except for now I also have responsibility for third base as U2 on a ball hit to the infield. That can be a bunt play. That can be just a routine ground ball. So I have responsibility for third and second. And then I also have force play slide rule at any base because it applies at first, second, and third, or second, third, and home. So I'm going to get into the working area. I'm going to step forward on a ball, and I'm going to read the throw. Go to where I think that throw is likely to go. And a lot of that, as Larry alluded to earlier, comes down to baseball knowledge. What's most likely to happen? And factors that go into that are speed of the runner. How hard is the ball hit? Are the infielders playing in? Are they playing halfway? Are they playing deep? Is the third baseman in ready for a bunt? Is the ball hit in front of R2 or behind R2? If it's hit in front of R2, there's a good chance it's going to go to third base, right? So if the ball's hit here, well, that's the wrong one. If the ball's hit here, where's he probably going to go? Depends. Is the batter runner fast? Is there 1 out? Is there less than 1 out? Is there 2 outs? All these things factor into it on whether or not that ball's going to go to third or whether it's going to go to second. So we just need to be in position. Go ahead.
You also could read the cue of the fielder that's handling it. Where are his feet at the moment he's fielding the ground ball. If his feet are open more toward first base, then he's going to second or first. If he's going to approach the ball going toward the third base dugout, so to speak, then he might go to third. So you got to read those cues as that fielder's approaching it. They tell us what they're doing.
The other good thing is a lot of times infielders like to talk. 3-3-3. Okay. Listen to them and use all of your cues around the game to tell you where that next play is going to be. Now, you can do all that, and they can still surprise you. So don't overcommit until you know the ball's going there, because they will do something that just doesn't make any sense at all, because they panic or their pre-pitch routine gets interrupted. But ultimately, you got to read what's happening, and pre-pitch routine doesn't just mean step, set, or get into a set position for umpires. It means what's likely to happen. Who are my runners? Where are my fielders at? Okay, if a ball's hit to this position, what are they most likely to do? If it's a bunt, what's most likely to happen with the ball? And then reading the reaction of the players. So awesome.
The players will tell you what to do. The big thing is, and I see this happen frequently with less experienced umpires. Something happens and they panic because either they haven't pre-pitched for it. I mean, baseball's a weird game, okay? But I always tell newer umpires, don't panic. Just keep the chest of the baseball. I mean, the baseball's, you're going to have to go with the baseball. So just don't panic because, the shortstop kicked the ball to the second baseman, who kicked the ball to the pitcher, who it's now stuck in his glove, and he underhand tosses his glove to the first baseman. Don't panic. Just follow the baseball. The baseball, the players will tell you what to do.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So I think last week left off on double play balls with R1 only. Here we have R1, R2. So because we have R2, you two, or the third base umpire, is going to slide over to position C. I'm usually still about halfway between the mound and the cutout of second base, still off of that, off of my right point of home plate, or the point closest to third base, a straight line through the edge of the dirt circle. This gives me an easier time to get in position for a steal at third, if there happens to be one, because I can simply take 2 steps towards the front edge of the mound and I have a good angle. If we're too deep at C, it's really difficult to get into position for that tag play, because we have to move forward to create the angle at third base. In the event we have a pass ball here, it gets a little hairy because U2 has 2 runners that they're technically responsible for. R2 going to third and R1 going to second. So we have to decide what play is more likely to happen if there is one, which means we need to get in position to see both, because U1 is never going to get to second base on a pass ball or a double steal. So we have to know where the ball is going in and react to that ball and get in a position, the best position possible that we can get into. So general setup for R1, R2, we have the home plate umpire, same as always, right? Fair foul. This time we have the third baseline all the way to the fence for fair foul. We have the first baseline all the way to the front edge of first base, just like we normally do. And then U1 has the front edge of the base to the wall in right field. Responsibility for runners lane interference, pulled foot, swipe tag at first base. We no longer have responsibility for forced play slide rule at second, like we did in 2-person. So we can just move to the baseball, work up the line to get that angle, and then cover any overthrows and make sure the ball goes out of play or stays in play. and make a signal based on what happens. U1, pretty simple. Because we have a runner in front of R1, we can just go back to 6 to 8 feet behind the first baseman, and no closer than 10 feet to the base. Because there's not going to be a pickoff play at first base, and if there is, you're going to see it coming because you're going to be behind the first baseman. You can take a couple steps forward and get a good angle at that tag play. Essentially, you don't need to be in that locked in position, hands on knees set, facing the mound, because there's nobody holding R1 on now. Use your 2-4-6 rule, get in position for a play at first base. U2, position C, square to the first base dugout. They have responsibility for everything at second base, including forced play slider rule. And if R1 is safe at second, U2 also has R1 into third base. So we use a slide or a reverse rotation mechanic, because if for whatever reason, let's say it's a tweener or it's a ball hit to the second baseman's left, so R2 is going to be safe, or the play's not going to be there, we have responsibility for R1 going into third if they choose to. Does that make sense to everybody? So then we would essentially just hang out, and we have these two plays here, as long as the ball stays in the infield. That's an easy one. You want to come in, play goes up, U2 hangs out. All right, now we have a little bit of fun, and we'll talk a little bit more about this as we get into the ball to the outfield mechanics. R2 only. The ball's hit to the infield, R2 less than 2 out. This is our position. U1 is going to be in the baseline between first and second on the dirt, square to the third base dugout. That's typically where I like to be because it gives me better angles and better looks at plays. It also keeps me out of the area because I'm further back, right? I don't have as much to worry about. It puts me in a good position for a pickoff play at second base because all I have to do is turn my head and I can see the tag and the runner going into the base and have a great look at that play. As always, we want to keep runners boxed in, so U2 is going to be at third in position D, square to home with the runner on second only, or second and third with less than 2 outs. Okay. U2 is also going to be in D with the runner on third only, which I think I might have a slide for. Plate, simply flip-flop from the last slide. We have the right field foul line all the way to the wall, left field foul line to third base. Same thing, responsibility for overthrows, responsible for runners lane interference, full foot swipe tag at first base. So it's really easy for the plate umpire in this situation to just kind of hang out. We don't want to overcommit to first base, but we do want to move up the line a few steps because we have to be in the vicinity of that play and be able to take a read step and get into position for a swipe tag. Overthrows at first and third, so wherever the ball goes, we have responsibility for ruling on that overthrow. When the ball is hit, U1 has 2 options, and it's nobody. I don't know that anybody ever really taught this to me. It was more of I just tried it and it seemed to work. So I'm going to change colors here. So give me a second. If the baseball is hit to third, or to the left side of the infield, or to the left side of U1, I am going to move back to get my angle. Does that make sense to everybody? So I, as U1, I'm going to move back towards the back edge of the grass, back edge of the dirt, to see the angle of the first baseman's foot because he's stretching what direction? This way. So if I'm here, I can see that back foot touching the base and whether or not he pulls it. Does that make sense? Anybody have any questions on that? Has anybody been taught anything different?
I think it's an outstanding response to that type of play. We're taught to step up, turn and face the ball. But in 3-man and 4-man, there's the benefit here to get a better angle. You go toward the mound to get that play, and the throw's coming right through you. So it's like your head snapping to first base. So that's why you want to go away from that fielder and not toward the mound.
Yeah.
I think it's a great move.
If the ball is hit to my left as U1, then I'm going to go into the mound and get this look because that fielder is stretching this direction off the back corner of the bag. So now I have a better look at that play. So essentially, move the opposite direction the ball goes. That's the easiest thing I can say to simplify it. The great thing here is with your art, anytime you're in the middle of the field as U1, you have nobody that's going to threaten you in the baseline. Nobody's going to run into you here because there's no runner behind you. So when the ball's hit to your right, move to your left and get deep and get an angle because that fielder stretches that direction. If the fielder stretching this direction, we want to move into the working area to get that angle. And that helps us on our read step. Now we have a great starting point for that stretch play. And it's a lot harder for a coach to say, "Oh, well, there's no way you could have seen him stay on the bag." Yeah, coach, I had a great angle at it because he stretched away from me. That's all you have to tell him. But it's really helped me out. And like I said, I don't know that anybody's ever told me that, or if I just kind of did it on my own. But it works for me. Anything to add here, Larry or Jake?
It is opposite what we're taught in 2-man. That's why it's kind of radical in its thinking. But if you've been umpiring 5 to 10 years, you've got to start thinking about situation plays instead of what's in the book.
The book is a reference point. If you're going to do something against what the book says, have a really good reason for doing it. Because if you have a really good reason for doing it and it makes sense, nobody's going to, they might ask you why you did that instead of that. But when you tell them, well, if I move this way, I get a great look at that fielder stretching across and I have a better look at a pulled foot. They're going to be like, oh, that makes sense. But if your answer is, why did you do that? And you say, well, I don't know. If you say, because Connor told me to, they're probably going to call me. But essentially, like, we can't umpire from point X. The game's going to dictate where we need to go. So go where you need to go to make the appropriate ruling. Get the best look you can, and you'll be fine. And assigners, evaluators might ask questions, but if you explain it to them and it makes sense as to why you do something, they're gonna be okay with it. As long as it makes sense and it puts you in a better position to umpire the play.
I think part of that is, you're absolutely right. The rule book, or the mechanics book, excuse me, is a reference. I've had certain plays where, I get pushed and I end up in a weird position, and then I find out, oh, okay, this isn't actually the worst spot to take this play from. The beauty of the 3 umpire system is that we are afforded so much more latitude in what we do that it's, if you've been doing it for a while, it's, after working a lot of 3-man, you'll hate going back to 2. That's what I can say about 3.
Another thing to think about is if that fielder, first baseman, whoops, wrong button here. If the first baseman stretches this way or this way, the plate umpire is going to be no help. They're not going to have a look at a pulled foot on that play because they're blocked or they can't see the back edge of the bag, where he may be off by this much or this much, but the base is in between the plate umpire and his toe, and he can't see it. He or she can't see it. So if we go to where we need to be to officiate that play, where the throw is coming from, where the throw is going to, we're going to be in a great position to umpire, and we're going to get calls right, and that's the goal. All right, R3 only. If we have R3 only, we have umpires back on the wings. It does us no good as U1 to be in the middle of the field in a situation because there's nothing happening there. And all we do is get in the way. With R3, U1's going to go back to first. U2 is going to go to third or stay at third. And now this graphic should change, so I apologize for that. For fair foul responsibilities. U1 has everything from the front edge of the bag, fair foul, all the way to the wall. Apparently, I didn't update my slide. I just got
your fair foul is gonna be the same as
nobody on.
with R3 as with nobody on. If you have both guys on the wings, the fair foul is gonna be the same. So this fair foul situation is more dependent on what, or I should say this in general. Fair foul is always gonna be dependent on the position of the umpires. If you have an umpire on the line, they're going to be responsible for the base and beyond, or beyond the base, depending on what you do. Some guys do it. Some guys do fair foul quite unique and whatnot. So
yeah, same responsibilities as nobody on. Only now we have R3. So on a pickoff, we are going to have a really good look at our normal position. We want to close down and get closer to that base for that ruling, right? So we're going to have ball, runner, everything coming in right here, get on that same train track as the fielder. We might want to take a step into foul territory to help out with that. We still, even with the runner on third, we still have responsibility for check swings, which makes this a little dicey at times, right? Left-handed batter, R3. If our view is obstructed, the one advanced mechanic I'm going to talk about probably throughout this entire thing is with a left-handed batter and R3, I am in fair territory because that opens up my look at the plate. It's really hard to umpire a check swing with a runner in between you and the plate. It works. You have a great open look. The runner's not there. If you're completely in fair territory, you know where you're at if you get hit with the ball, right? You're going to be behind the third baseman. There's not going to be any fielder behind you that can make a play on the ball. So if you get hit, the ball's live. And you're in position to umpire what you need to umpire. And that's the most important thing we can do. Try it for 1 or 2 times and see if you like it or don't. But it's only with the left-hander at the plate, left-handed batter at the plate, and R3. Every other time you need to be in foul territory.
There's a compromise to that too. Straddle the line. If you can't get yourself to go completely fair, compromise, straddle the line. That the runner's leading off in foul territory, so you still get a good look at the batter by straddling. So there's 3 options. Stay where you are. Don't do that because you got R3 coming back and he's coming back close to fair territory, if not all the way. So if you're straddling the line at the check swing, you're in good position. You're in good position too.
You know, Larry, you make a great point with straddling the line. The way that this was explained to me is my pre-pitch positioning as U1 is a scissor with a lean in foul territory. I don't need to straddle the line as U1 because I don't have a runner obstructing my views. There's no real reason that I would need to be in fair territory or straddle the line as U1. As U3, I go from more of a hands on knees set stance straddling the line, because then that's going to give me the window that I'm looking for to see a check swing. But then I'm also, in a position where if I do have a pickoff play, I can take 1 or 2 read steps and be right there for the play.
Larry, straddling the line works for some people. What I found, I'm going to illustrate this because it might work for most people. It doesn't work for me because typically when they teach runners on third base, start foul, work towards the line in your secondary lead. So when you come back, you're coming back straight up the line to the base in between the catcher and the third baseman for that throw, right? That's the way they teach that lead off. If I'm straddling the line, a lot of times when he stops, I can't see the barrel of the bat. But that's my experience, and it might be different for other people.
I'm just giving you one other option. I'm not saying
Absolutely.
either one of them. I might not do any of them. I'm not going to do any of them anymore.
Try them all. See what works for you.
Hey,
It may be situation dependent. Yeah.
Hey, so here's another reason why it's not a good idea to straddle the line. What if the ball hits you? You're not going to be standing still the whole time if a ball's coming at you. So you're moving, and the ball hits you somewhere. You don't know if you were in fair territory. You don't know if you're in foul territory. So if you pick one or the other and the ball hits you, you now know it's going to be either fair or foul.
Eric, here's what I counter with that, okay? Because the way that I had an umpire explain this to me, and I don't disagree with what you're saying, but one of the things that when he was explaining this to me, and this is really hard to explain without demonstrating it, but when I'm working as U1, all I do is just stand up and get my chest to the to fair territory, and for me, what I do is I just do a pivot into foul territory, just move my left foot and pivot into foul territory, because then I can still keep my head over the line, and I can still make that fair foul call. But then I know that my body's in foul territory, and so that's one thing that because I totally agree with you, but I've worked on pivoting that anytime I have a ball in play or a ball that gets hit, when we were playing, they always said, your first step is always back. For me, when I'm working and I'm straddling the line, my first step is always foul. So I'm always going to get my body foul before I would go into the field of play, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Jake, I get what you're saying. I think we're talking about the screamers that are hit right up the line, and you're just trying to not get hit. So
I get it.
Cool. All right. I believe our next slide is going to talk about plays the outfield.
Now we can start talking about the fun stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Because if running back and forth between the B position as U3 isn't fun enough.
All right. Balls hit the outfield in 3-person mechanics, and I strongly encourage you to do this on fly balls in your coverage area in 2-person to practice. Pause. Open up to the baseball. Pause. Stand still. Read, catch, no catch, ball threatening the wall, trouble ball, for a split second, an extra second. Because it gives us a better opportunity to decide whether or not to go out. So open to the baseball, pause, read the flight of the baseball, read the fielders, right? We're not just going to stand there and watch the baseball the entire time. We're going to turn, track the baseball to where it's going, read the fielders to see what they're doing, and then we're going to react. So we have the option in 3-person to go out a lot more. It's not required on every fly ball. But if we get the pause, read, react part down, and especially the pause and read part, we're going to be a lot better umpires even in the 2-umpire system. If you work with me, a fly ball hits my coverage area in 2-person, I'm not fleet of foot, but I read the ball for a really long time, or what feels like a really long time, and I never get beat to second base. So pause, read the ball, read the fielders, and then react to what happens. The other thing we need to read is if the ball is not hit our coverage area, we have to read our partner. Because we have to know what our partner is doing. Because if they go out, then we have to react differently than if they stay in. And that's both for the plate umpire and the wing umpires. Is to read your partners. The plate umpire, you can see everybody, right? You know what everybody's doing. Pick up your partners, verbally communicate with your partners what is happening, what they need to do, what you need to do, and communicate. Because as a plate umpire, you got everything in your lap. You don't need to turn your head to see the first base or third base umpire. Nobody's looking at your back. If one umpire goes out, it reverts to 2 umpire mechanics. There are a couple of small caveats to that, and we'll cover those. But remember, in 3-person, pause, read, react, read your partner, and if somebody goes out, you're now working 2 umpire mechanics.
I put in the chat, there are 4 reasons that we would, 4 criteria. If you get one, that's enough to go out. And that's for any system that you're working. That's not just, only for 3 umpires. If you got 2 umpires and you have one of those 4 criteria met, you can go out on it. The other thing is that I don't know if it got mentioned or not, but when you go out, and I'm going to turn my video back on here quick. When you go out, we got to make sure we're really, really communicating. So we read the ball, we read our partners. If you're going to go out, a lot of times you're not going to be able to yell that, hey, I'm going out. And so what I try to do is I try to make eye contact with my partner on the wing, and I throw my hand up and I point straight up and just say I'm going out. I don't know if they can hear me or not, but I do that to communicate that, hey, I'm going out on this. And the more umpires you put on the field, the more communication is key. Because you can have a brain fart if you're U2 in a 4-man system, and they'll just revert back to 3-man because there's communication going on. So communicate.
So those 4 criteria. 2 convergent fielders. And by convergent fielders, I don't mean like the center fielder and right fielder are jogging towards each other. That's not conversion. I'm talking dead sprint going to collide. Or going to end up crossing each other's path at speed. Okay. A ball that could be caught at or below the waist. A ball that is threatening the fence. So home run versus not a home run. And fair foul. Those are the times we can go out. I might throw one extra little thing in there, and it's a ball that threatens a boundary line. Maybe more than threatens a fence. Any ball that threatens a boundary line. So a line drive that bounces and goes into the corner and might go out of play. Or might go into the tarp. Might go into the bullpen. We can go out on those. Because those are boundary lines that make a difference on when we award bases and whether or not to award bases. So those are our instructions there on when to go out. All right, so no runners on. U2 has first option to go out on fly balls from the left field line to the center fielder going towards him, right? So the center fielder goes towards left field. That's U2's ball. They have the option to go out, but if they don't go out, they still have catch, no catch. So if they decide that's a can of corn, I'm going in, you still have responsibility for catch, no catch. U1 has the first option to go out on the center fielder going straight in, straight out, all the way to the right field line. So anything in there, U1 is going to pause, read, react, decide whether or not to go out. If they don't go out, they still have responsibility for catch, no catch. So they can open up. If I'm U1 and I'm not going out, I open up to the ball and I just hold my hand out to the plate umpire, say, I'm staying here, right? But it's very important that if we do that, we do it late, and it's 100% I'm not going anywhere. Because we can't hold the plate umpire up and then decide to go out. We can go out late if we don't tell the plate umpire, hey, I'm staying. So make sure it's 100% we're reading the ball, making a decision, I'm staying here. Okay. What that tells the plate umpire, if we hold him up, it means I have catch, no catch, I'm not going anywhere. The plate umpire has the batter runner touching first base, but if there's a play back to first base, I, as U1, am going to come back and take that play. So the plate umpire can just float up the line a little bit, watch him touch, and we're good to go.
Were you just going through rim reads?
No, we're not covering rim reads.
Okay,
We don't rim here.
fair enough.
This is basic umpiring.
I understand. You want to talk about? I put that X there. You know, when we have that the center fielder coming in, and we kind of have that what I like to call a no man's land ball. I know there's different mechanics books that say who's going to quarterback this play, like who's going to take charge on this. Some books say U1's got to take this. Some books say it's U2 that takes this. You want to kind of talk about that real no man's land ball?
So you're talking about a ball where the center fielder is charging in, like a shallow pop fly.
Yeah, shallow pop fly, center fielder's charging. I mean, we clearly have a ball that's going to be caught at or below the waist. We can assume that short or second base may be going backwards on this as well. And so, I mean, this is a weird play.
Yeah. So, man.
I guess I can tell you what I've always.
Yeah. So I think on this play, it really depends on where the ball's going. Who's gonna have the best look at that play? And that might come down to just communication. For me, it's communication. You read the ball. And I may say, if I'm U1, I may say, Jake, that's yours. And just yell across the field at you. Because it depends on where they're going. Who's going to have the open glove look? I mean, it's a lot. I'm assuming, Jake, that they told you that on that play, U2 is going to go. Because U2 is going to have a better angle at that because they can get deep.
I've got something here.
Go for it,
All right,
Larry.
let's have it, Larry.
Okay, if both go to start with, I'm saying U2's got to stop and come back inside. Why? Because if U1 and U2 are both out, who can easily get back to second base? U2 can get to second base much more easily without getting in the way of the batter runner. So that's if they both start out. I'm saying that U2's got to read U1 more than U1's got to read U2.
Okay, Larry, I'll put it. I like that idea. Okay, the way that I do it, and I took this from hockey because there's certain infractions that we have that you know, if I'm the referee as opposed to being the linesman, I want the first crack. So I want like the first crack at hand passes, pucks out of play, and high sticks. I want the first grab at that. The way that I was taught was initially it was the third base umpire that would get the first crack at balls in no man's land. And that if U3 did not, or U2 did not go out, then U1 has the opportunity to go out on that. I believe, and Connor, please do correct me if I'm wrong, I believe now under the CCA mechanics, I believe U1 has first crack on it, and I can see Connor's grabbing his book. Mine's not with me right now, but I believe U1,
Yeah,
according to the mechanics manual.
quarterback. They're the quarterback. U1 is the quarterback.
Okay. So that's, when I was saying a couple minutes ago how this, fly ball coverages have changed, I remember the days where, we called U2 the Maytag man because they're running out and, they were quarterbacking. And so, as U1, when I was working 3-man a couple weeks ago, and I was third base, I told my partner, I said, hey, you're quarterbacking this thing. If you don't go out, I'm going to assume I'm taking it. So read the ball, be aggressive, go. If you're going to go out, let me know because I'll be coming in right behind you.
Now it's just simply dictated on where the center fielder goes. If he goes straight in, straight out, or towards the right field line, it's U1. If he goes towards the left field line, it's U2. They simplified it way down.
Perfect.
Ultimately, know that on that play, somebody probably needs to go. Pre-game it. If you want to have somebody specific go in those plays, that's cool. Get the play covered. Make sure everybody knows what's going on. If you don't pre-game it and you know your partner needs to take it, yell at your partner. Like I will scream across the field at Jake, say, Jake, that's you. Jake, go. Whatever I need to say to get him moving. All right. So we're going to watch this a little bit. I'm going to have no runners on. Fly ball to right field. U1 goes out.
While Connor's loading this, I'll say this. UCU, United Collegiate Umpires, they put out some fantastic videos.
Looking at
Sorry, they have their.
So don't be afraid to. If you're looking for videos, these guys put out some great stuff.
Yeah. So let's try and trim the 18 seconds of dead air.
on this fly ball to right field, this crew does a nice job. U1 reads the fly ball and decides to go out. Although, as we stated in a previous video mechanicsgram segment, we would prefer U1 letting the fielders take him to the play and avoid looking at the baseball in the air. But the rest of the crew reads U1 and covers their responsibilities. Brief tip: as the plate umpire rotating to first base, identify the position of the first baseman. Is he top of the bag or below the bag? His position will determine where the best spot is for the potential playback on the batter runner.
So, I did a pretty good job. I talked earlier about reading the flight of the ball, then finding the fielders immediately after. That's what they're talking about at the beginning there. Now, the one thing I would say is if you watch, and I'll see if I can rewind this just a little bit. If you watch
Looking at the
this,
baseball in the air. But the rest of the
our U2 is outside the base. Or our third base umpire is working the outside. If a runner or if an umpire goes out, we cannot work outside. We have to be inside the diamond because now we're two umpire mechanics. So now we have to get to third. If we're outside, we can't beat that runner to third. So we should be coming in to the middle when U1 goes out. That makes sense to everybody? Awesome. All right. No runners on. Clean base hit. So a clean base hit, nobody's going out on, right? Unless it goes into the corner or it threatens the wall. So clean base hit. Think gapper, think shot down the right field line that's well fair and there's no fair foul issue. Ball up the middle, something like that. U1's going to have any touch at first base and any play back into first. U2 will move towards the infield and take plays at second base. The plate umpire will move up the line towards third base. So this is a clean base hit, right? So I think there's animations here. So pitch comes in, ball goes out. Okay. So on a single, we don't really have to move a ton, right? If we read true single, Batter's not hustling out of the box. Fielders are getting the balls right to a fielder. Okay, we don't have to move a ton. Know that U2 on a clean base hit has the option to work the outside of second base. We don't talk about that a ton. We'll come back to that and touch on it next week a little bit more. The U1 so the plate umpire moves up towards third base. We're going to move at the same speed as the runner rounding first base. So if they round it hard, we're going to go as far as they go. And I'm going to just pull up an animation, what I'm talking about here. So if our runner goes this far, the plate umpire goes this far. If the runner gets to second base, the plate umpire needs to be in position for a play at third. And we can go outside or inside, whatever's more comfortable for you. But we need to match the depth and speed of the base runner the best we can. I realize that some of us aren't able to match 16, 17, 18-year-old speed very well. Okay. So as the batter runner rounds second, the U1 can start towards home. Again, same pace, same distance. Once R2 or the batter runner commits to third, we commit home. And we want to be standing at the point of home plate when he rounds third. Okay? So once he commits, we can just boop and take off running. And it's a 90 to 180. He's got to run 180 feet. We got to run 90. We should be able to beat him. Maybe not by a ton, but we should be able to beat him. And we want to umpire that play just as if we were the plate umpire. So remember, plate umpire is going to mirror the runner between first and second and home and third for the plate umpire. And U1 is going to commit to home when when the runner commits to third. So we don't have to take off in a dead sprint once he rounds first base. We can just move gently down. Once he hits second and commits to third, then we can run. And I think we have another video coming up. Maybe. Nope, we don't. All right. So, no runners on, trouble ball, and U2 goes out. Remember, if you go out, you stay out. U1's going to take the batter runner all the way to third base. PU's, the plate umpire, is going to step back, take a couple steps back from the point of plate, get a wide angle of everything. And then if we have a play at the plate, we're going to rotate around, work the wedge around the third baseline, extended, to get into the best position to umpire that play at the plate. U1's a little slow there, sorry. But we're going to work it just like if it's a clean base, a sure double in the 2 umpire system. So we're going to come in, we're going to pivot, we're going to go to second, we're going to go to third. Okay. Now, here's what we're going to do if we have U1 going out. And I think this will be our last slide for the day. No runners on, we have a trouble ball. U1 goes out, stays out, right? The plate umpire is going to move up towards first. We're going to watch the batter runner touch first base. We have to work as if there's a play coming back to first base as a plate umpire. So we need to get up the line and be ready for a play back into first. That last video talked about the position of the first baseman dictating where we go. Okay. So if they're above, their tag's coming here, we need to be out here. If they're below the base, the play's coming back here, we need to work inside. Once the batter runner commits to second, we can kind of start drifting back towards home plate. We can cheat a little bit, right? Once they hit second, then we can go home. but we can't leave until we know he's obtained second base. Because if that ball careens off the wall right to the right fielder, he turns and fires at second base, and the runner's a little slower than we thought, now we have a rundown and we need to be in position to help. So we can cheat a little bit and drift, watch him touch second, then we can jog home because we have responsibility for the play at the plate. U2 is going to, we're going to come across the diamond. We're going to pick him up as he's committed to second base, and we're going to work him all the way to third base if he goes that far. Any questions on this slide? All right, cool. So this is where we left off last week for the 3-umpire system. No runners on, trouble ball, U1 goes out and stays out. One thing I failed to mention last week is that, let's see if we have animations here first. U2 has responsibility for covering the batter runner back into first base anytime we have an umpire go out. We always have to cover that runner back into first base. So I'm going to back up here a second. So if this is a single, the playback umpire is going to come up and loop back in here for this play back into first base. Actually, scratch that. We talked about that last week, but yeah, the plate umpire is going to roll up here and take this play, be ready for that throw behind the runner, back into first base. And we'll talk about the next one, the slide technique. So if we have a runner on first base, U2 is in deep B or C, preferably B. I talked a little bit about the difference on where I stand versus where a lot of umpires stand. I'm typically further up in the working area because I want the ball to travel past my face earlier on a steal attempt, so I have more time to read the play. U2 has catch, no catch from left fielder to right fielder, straight in, straight out, and everything in between. So that yellow area there. They have all plays to second base, and then the batter runner if R1 commits to third. And we'll talk about that here in a second. But just know that if R1 commits to third, U2 has to pick up the batter runner because we have a rotation on a clean base hit. U1 should be on the foul line, approximately 8 feet behind first base, square to the pitcher. Your right toe should be next to the foul line, and your shoulder should be square to the pitcher. And then you'll turn your head with the delivery of the pitch. U1 has fair foul from the front edge of the bag all the way to the fence. And then if the right fielder goes to the foul line, we're going to have catch, no catch responsibility. Okay. We also have the option to go out on that type of play. So know that you have catch, no catch responsibility by the right fielder. And if you have to go out on anything, threatening the wall on the right side of second base, you can. Just make sure you make eye contact with your partner and let U2 know that you're going. Now, when R1 commits to third, U1 commits to home to rule on plays at the plate. So the way this works is if nobody goes out, you are going to work around the base. I think we'll talk about this a little bit more later. But you're going to work around first, clear the batter runner, and cheat a little bit towards home. We don't have to go a long ways. We just have to get going. Because we want to be in position waiting on that ball to come in. If R1 commits to third, we have to get home. And we're going to go point of plate extended and work that just as if we're the plate umpire. The plate umpire is going to have all fair foul, catch, no catch with the left fielder going towards the foul line. So we have fair foul, catch, no catch, everything taking the left fielder to the foul line. If U1 has a catch, no catch responsibility, the plate umpire has to rule on R1 tagging. Okay, so we have to get up the line a little bit, line up our tag there, and make sure we know if R1 legally tagged. Once R1 commits to second, the plate umpire commits to third. And the plate umpire can, provided nobody goes out, take this play outside the base. Because there's nothing, you don't have to go home because U1's coming filling behind you. Anytime we have a rotation, we have to read our partners. As a plate umpire, if I'm going up to third, I'm looking over my shoulder at U1 to see what they're doing. Because if they're not coming home, I probably got to take that play inside so I can come home if I need to, if U1 never moves. The other thing I can do is I can yell across the field at U1 and say, hey, you're covering home, or I'm going to third, and try to wake them up a little bit. It's really easy to for U1 to fall asleep at the wheel here, which is why we have to read our partners. We have to look at our partners when the ball's in play. Chest of the baseball, but take peeks at your responsibilities and figure out what you need to do next. And if you look at your partners, you'll know where you need to fill in at, because you'll know where they are going. So here's what a clean base hit to the outfield will look like. We're going to watch that one more time. So U2, the plate umpire is going to go to third. And you have the option of going inside or outside. Inside is a perfectly fine place to be. It's probably the default place for most of us early on working the three umpire system, because that's where we're supposed to go in the 2 umpire system. U1's going to commit home, and once R1 commits to third, U2 is going to backfill and pick up the batter runner. Because U2 has responsibility for that play at first base on the batter runner if they throw behind him. So the plate umpire has R1 going to third. U1 has the touch and commits home. U2 watches the touch at second. When R1 commits to third, they backfill to pick up the batter runner. And they will be either here in the cutout for that play back in, or if the batter runner tries to advance to second, they get back to the working area for the play on the batter runner. So here's a video. Like I said last week, that the MAC and the UCU do a great job with a lot of these videos that they pull from their camps and clinics.
As we focus on plate umpires rotating to third in this video, the plate umpire here does a nice job getting an explosive first step to third base. He also does a nice job checking to make sure U1 is rotating home. As we take a look at this, however, he may be rotating just a little bit too far past third base. He should stop no farther than even with third base to allow everything to remain in front of him. U1 should strive to get to the point of the plate and then adjust from there. We should always try to make this as similar as possible to taking plays at the plate as the plate umpire. The plate umpire starts at the point, so U1 should try to get there to start as well.
Any questions on that? Awesome. All right. So, same situation, but we have a fly ball caught in the outfield. U2 is going to have catch, no catch, and R1 into second base. Plate umpire is going to move towards third, reading the play with responsibility for the play at third. U1 is going to line up R1 tagging, and then when the plate umpire commits to third, U1 will commit home for place at the plate. So same rotation, but if the fly ball is going to be caught, we have responsibility for runners tagging. If you watch that, so the plate umpire goes up, U1's going to get first base line or first, second line extended somewhere in here, line that tag up. U1's going to watch the tag. When R1 commits to third, or second, sorry, when R1 commits to second, plate umpire is going to go to third, and the U1 is going to commit home because we still have responsibility for a play there, right? We're going to cheat home because we have to be ready for a potential play at the plate. In a fly ball caught situation, we don't have to commit home until that runner commits to third as U1. We can drift down towards the plate and be ready, because once he commits to second, odds are he's going to second hard. We know he's not going to turn around. If we overcommit home in that situation and R1 has a oh shoot moment and turns back to first, we have to be able to get into position for a play there as well. So we want to make sure that we drift a little bit, but we don't commit to home until R1 commits to third. The plate umpire is going to go as far towards third as the runner goes towards second. So if we stay even with the runner, we can always beat them to third base. And we can go outside or inside depending on our preference. The play opens up a lot more if you work the outside, but sometimes we just have a brain fart and we go inside because of a habit we built up over the years. Any questions here on this slide? Cool. All right. So there's a lot going on this slide. So we have R2 only. 1 out or 0 outs. U1's going to be in deep B. I'm usually behind the baseline. I want to be really deep here. I'm going to have catch, no catch, left fielder, right fielder, straight in, straight out, and everything in between is U1. So just like I would in the 2-umpire system, if I'm in B, I have the V. I have responsibility for all plays at second base and the batter runner if the R2 commits to third. Okay? So once R2 commits to third, as the U1, I'm turning to pick up the batter runner, rounding first. If I don't have catch, no catch. And then I'm going to, if the ball's down, I'm going to backfill into first base probably and be ready for that throw behind the runner, because the plate umpire has to stay home or has to get back to the plate here if the ball's down. The plate umpire has all fair foul, catch, no catch, with the right fielder going towards the foul line. We have the entire first base foul line. We still have third base all the way to the bag, the front edge of the bag for fair foul. We can, if U1 has the fly ball, has catch, no catch responsibility, we probably need to work a couple steps up the line and watch the batter runner touch first base. That should be our touch, because U1 is going to be looking at the catch, no catch. So we should move up the line with a purpose, watch the touch, and then work back to the plate. Once we have the touch, U1's going to pick up that batter runner. And they're going to come in and take that play back into first if there's one there. U2 is going to be in position D, or behind third base. We have fair foul from the front edge of the bag all the way to the fence, and catch, no catch by the left fielder going towards the fair foul line. If you don't have catch, no catch responsibility, you're going to watch R2 tagging. Because we can always have an extra set of eyes on that. You're going to have R2 tagging coming to third. So you should probably work towards foul territory on that tag if R2 is going to commit to third. We're going to move into the third base coach's box to receive the play. Now, one thing that I learned this year, as soon as I can actually annotate here, is the whole R2 picking up that tag. Find a color that works. We'll go with brown. So when that ball's caught in U1's territory, especially if it's caught this way, as U2, I'm going to pick up R2's tag. Technically, that's U1's responsibility by the book. But I'm going to pick up this tag because I want R1 focusing on one thing. I can focus on one thing, and the plate umpire can focus on everything. The benefits of having 3 umpires is we can whittle down the list of tasks or responsibilities that each umpire has. If I pick up that tag, I'm going to pre-pitch that to U1. I'm going to do this, right? Hand me on the head. And I might yell. I might just say, hey, Larry, I've got R2 tagging if it's your fly ball. And he's going to be like, got it. And the ball's put in play. I'm going to say, Larry, R2 is mine. And Larry's going to accept that. He's going to hear it. He's probably not going to respond to me, but he's going to know that I have that tag, as do coaches and players. So if there's an appeal, they know I'm taking that and that I saw it. So when I come out with something, I'm a lot more believable if I've communicated to my partners.
I'd say if I'm U2, I'm going to respond by saying, I've got the runner. I've got the runner, which means I've got everything, or I've got the tag. If he asks me to do it, I'm going to let him know I heard it.
Yeah. Good point. Any questions in this situation, guys? All right.
I think your U2 also, to get that tag, if it's over where you said it was, it's got to drop down into the coach's box and tell the coach to get out of the way too.
Definitely.
He's going to have to see the catch and the runner tagging up. He can't be above third base. He needs to be in line with at least the baseline.
Yeah, definitely. Line that tag up if you're taking it. All right. R1, R2 only, less than 2 outs. We have a fly ball that is caught. U1 is in deep B, 2 to 3 steps behind the baseline, has catch, no catch, and R2 tagging, right? Which we just talked about. U2 has the option to say, hey, I'm going to take that tag on a fly ball for your coverage area. U2 is in D in normal depth. With 2 outs, U2 is going to move into C, and U1 will return to A. So we're going to go back to where we want U1 at first base, because the most likely the play is going to be at first base. Okay. And then they use the slide technique on a fly ball or clean base hit. And I think our next page we'll talk about the slide or the reverse rotation. So 2 outs, R2 only. We're going to move back over to U2 is going to be in C. U1 is going to be in position A. That's how that's going to work. Plate umpire is going to deepen up, watch the touch. U1 has catch, no catch. U2 can take that tag and that play into the plate, or that play into third, rather. R2 only, less than 2 outs, clean base hit. This is really simple. U2 is going to slide down for that play, potential play at third base. Plate umpire is going to back up, keep everything in their line of sight. Potentially watch R1 touching, because you have to umpire something. We're not just going to stand around and let everybody else do all the work. and then U1's going to backfill for that play first, or to take over the batter runner responsibility. And the plate umpire has to play the plate. Another interesting situation here with R2 only less than 2 outs. We have a fly ball to left field, and U2 goes out. So in this situation, U2 goes, R1 has just like two-person. U1 has R2 tagging. They won't have catch, no catch. They have to line up the tag still. And then they have R2 going to third base. The plate umpire is going to simply take a couple steps back and watch the batter runner touch first base, and then take a peek and see what happened with the ball. So have some awareness. We don't have to watch the batter runner run all the way to first base, because there's nothing that's going to happen to him or her before they get to first base that matters, that you're not going to know. Right? So we can't just stare at one thing the entire time. We've got to go back and forth. We can pick up, we can help out with catch, no catch. We can help out with R1 touching first. We can peek at our partners and make sure that R1's doing what they're supposed to do. And if not, make sure they know they've got to go to third. The benefits of being the plate umpire is we have everything out in front of us. So U2 goes, U1 watches the tag and goes to third. The plate umpire backs up and takes everything in. Next scenario, R3 only. So we have a ground ball or clean base hit to the outfield. U1 has responsibility for the batter runner, right? Our fair foul responsibilities are back to normal. Our catch, no catch is divided the outfield in half. U1 has center fielder straight in, straight out, and everything to the right field line. U2 has center fielder to their left, all the way to the left field line. On a clean base hit or a ground ball, U2 has to read, if it's a ground ball to the infield, what R3 does. Because if R3 freezes, we've got to figure out what we're going to do. If that ball's hit to the left of second base and R2 goes home, or R2 drifts off the bag, or sorry, R3 goes home or R3 drifts off the bag, we've got to recognize that situation as a potential play back to third base. U1 has to read the throw or read the fielders and see what they're going to do with the ball. Because if they're going to third base with that, then U1 has to get into the middle of the infield. Because U2 has to be in position for that play at third. If the ball's hit to the right side of the infield and R3 commits home, or the ball's hit to the outfield, it's a clean base hit, U2 is going to come into the infield for the play at second base. That makes sense to everybody? So if this ball is hit and R3 drifts down, we can't, as U2, commit to the infield because that play could come back here. So we have to have situational awareness and know what the defense is doing. If the defense feels the ball, looks at him, U1 is going to be in position for that play at first. That throw goes to third, then we get to the infield. Because we had the batter runner no matter where they go. And if that throw gets away or there's a run down here, the batter runner is going to round first and go to second. So we have to be in our position. We have to use our baseball sense to get to where we need to be for the next play. Now, here's the slide technique. So we have R1, R2. On a clean base hit to the outfield, U2 is going to take R2 at third base and R1 at second and or third. U1 will take R1 at second base and the batter runner at first and second. The plate umpire is going to have R2 touching third and will stay home because there's runners in scoring position and nobody went out. So R2 has responsibility, U2 has responsibility for second and third. U1 has responsibility for first and second. Plate umpire has responsibility for home. So the ball's hit in play. It's a clean base hit. U2 is going to rotate over to third. U1 is going to come in, pivot, and take the batter runner into second base. The plate umpire is going to watch touches and then be ready for plays to the plate. Watch that one more time so that's going really fast. So U2 slides over to watch R1 touch second. The plate umpire watches R2 touch third. U1 comes in, watches the batter runner touch second, batter runner touch first, and goes to second base. Anything on here, guys? Cool. Another awesome video.
Reverse rotations and finishing the play. Here, we will see a well-executed reverse rotation by the base umpires in a 3-umpire system. However, simply knowing what runner you are responsible for is not enough to meet the high expectations placed upon umpires who want to excel at the Division I level. In this case, we want to see an umpire who can finish the play in a position that will allow him to react and adjust for a possible tag by the second baseman. Our guiding principles tell us that having the runner sliding towards us is an ideal place to start for a tag play. Both umpires in this play have achieved that position and have finished this play nicely.
Watch U1.
Based upon umpires who want to excel at the division.
So this ball is going to be hit to the left field. It's a clean base hit. U1 comes in, watches batter runner touch. Batter runner around second. The ball's coming into the infield. Find that. And he slides outside to get this play coming back into him. Let me figure out where it's at. He's going to slide out and be ready for that relay throw coming back to second because they realize they can't get R2 at home. Great work. Oh, go ahead, Larry.
U2 has done the same thing. He goes outside too once R2 is committed home. Looks like he committed a home.
Yeah. Good.
Let it go all the way and you can see it.
So he's going to let R1 pass. He's going to get outside for the next play. Which here, he does a great job of reading and getting behind the third baseman, who is our relay, before the ball's coming in. If we're going to go outside, I would say go on the top side of the bag or the outfield side of third base. But ultimately, don't get in the way of the relay throw. A good point, Larry. I didn't see that initially. That's finishing the play and getting in position for the next potential play. R1, R2, a fly ball caught in the outfield. The plate umpire is going to rotate up to third because we have a fly ball that is caught. Nobody goes out, so the plate umpire rotates up to third. U1 has R1 tagging and then commits home for plays at the plate. U2 has R2 tagging and then has R1 going to second. So once R2 tags and commits to third, U2's got to pick up R1. If R1 goes halfway, U2 has to take R1 back to first base because U1 is at home. Very important that we take a second somewhere within this play, or a couple times within this play, to find our partners and see what they are doing. Because if the plate umpire falls asleep at the wheel and U2 goes to pick up R1, there's nobody at third. If the plate umpire commits to third and U1 never comes home, there's nobody for a play at home. So we have to go inside as the plate umpire. If U2 goes to third, the plate umpire can either yell at him or turn and yell to U1, slide. And U1 knows they've got to come in or reverse rotate. U1's got to come in and pick up that second play in the infield. So if we are always aware of our partners and where the next play is, we can help prevent ourselves from getting in crappy situations or unlucky or out of position. Because we know what our partners are doing and we can backfill or communicate to fill in where we need to fill in. Everybody see how that works? So it's a fly ball caught in the outfield by the center fielder. We pick up our tags and we pick up our next runner. Plate umpire goes outside, U1 comes home. All right. Bases loaded. The plate umpire responsibility for R3 tagging. Fair foul on the left field line, plays at the plate. Fair foul on the right field line to the front edge of the base. U2 is responsible for fly balls to the B. Excuse me. R2 tagging going to third. And U1 is going to be responsible for R1 tagging and going to second base. So we have a lot to deal with here, and a lot of movement. The plate umpire is going to stay home because they have a runner on third, runner in scoring position, right? U2 has R2 tagging, U1 has U1 tagging. The tricky thing is when that throw goes to the infield and they try to get a runner who's trying to advance to an extra base. So if we have a no catch situation, U1's going to come in on a clean base hit. They're going to rotate and we're going to slide, which we talked about the last slide, or reverse rotate. If it's a fly ball that's caught, somebody's going to have to line up the tag and their runner. If U2 is lining up the catch and the tag, U1 has to do that as well. And then you have to get into the infield. We have to be in position to officiate the next or to umpire the next play, which gets a little tricky in this situation. Ultimately, we just have to do the best we can. Baseball knowledge will tell us that R1 in this situation is going to go halfway on a fly ball, right? 99% of the time, R1 is going to go halfway. Thus, as U1, we can just go ahead and get into the infield. We don't have to worry about R1 tagging. That's baseball sense. That's baseball smarts. We're going to go to the infield because R1's not tagging. If R1 tags, we've got to find a way to communicate that to U2, because we're not going to beat R1 to second if we're behind him lining up the tag. I don't have a great way for fixing the situation. The way that I've always used is I'm going to get in the infield. I'm going to get as deep as possible. So I may come, rather than go over the top or outside, I may come in and get deep here, because then I can always get an angle, and I can choose angle over distance on this play if I have to be here. The other option is to get in here and peek over your shoulder and use an educated guess to see if they left early. So I'm going to come in here and read my 2 angles for my catch, no catch, or the ball touching and R1 tagging if they tag. As a plate umpire, if I know we're in this situation and I see R1 tagging, I'm going to get deep and I'm going to do everything I can to pick up third and first. And pick up first in my peripherals. Once I know I've got a good tag by R3, I'm going, or I know for sure I don't have a good tag, I'm going to turn and pick up where R1 is at. And I'm going to use an educated guess again to figure out if they were on the base when the ball was first touched by the outfielder. R1 should never tag in this situation, but if I don't talk about it, it's going to happen in your next game and you're going to be trying to figure out what the heck you should have done and yelling at me. Go ahead, Larry.
The likelihood of him tagging, it's going to be a higher fly ball, and it's going to be in the alley, or it's going to be down the line. It's not going to be where the right fielder is playing. It could be over his head where he's playing. So you gotta again know where it's going to land or be touched first. So that can be part of your not pre-pitch, but during the play education.
Yeah, definitely. Odds are if R1's in a situation where they're tagging, U1's probably going out. Because it's probably a, potential home run ball into the corner or something. Larry, you got something else?
No, that's it.
All right, cool. All right. That's it, guys. I'm going to stop sharing now. What questions do you have for the free umpire system? Anything you've ran into over the years, you're not sure if you did it right, or you're not sure if somebody told you right?
Sometimes you're going to have to, just because one guy of the crew has made a bad decision on where they went. So you're going to have to sometimes cover for them, especially in that scenario you had there. Let's say your first base umpire, U1 just lines up the tag and does not come in there. U2 now has got to read where's the throw going. And then he would adjust and take a play at second or a play at third, depending on where that throw goes. Because U1 just had a brain fart.
For sure. The other thing I'm going to cover real quick, if I can find the right slide, is a squeeze play situation. All right. So one thing that's become more commonplace, I'm not 100% sure that it is approved by the mechanics manual, but ultimately we have to umpire we can make some slight adjustments to the mechanics to get the play right, or to put us in position to get the play right. We still need to umpire the play. And umpiring the play means that sometimes we have to go a little off script to get that play right. So, in this situation, if we're in a bunt, we're in a squeeze situation, right? Some more and more guys I work with are going to give up fair foul on these types of plays, because you have two runners. You have a runner on each fair foul line. So I may use this mechanic, right? I'm going to give you C's. Okay, I don't know. Basically, I want you to take fair foul if you're on the wing. because I've got interference, obstruction, play at the plate. I may want, if that ball is a dribbler up the line, I'm going to try to annotate this real quick. So if that ball, if it's bunted up the third baseline, I've got this guy coming this way, this guy going this way, the catcher popping up and getting out in front of the plate. So I got my catcher coming up here to receive that ball. I've got fielder charging, I've got pitcher charging, I've got runner coming. Some guys will say, I'm going to give up. If I do this, I'm not taking fair foul. And you on the wing have to take fair foul in that situation. Some guys will say, if I do this, I want my wing umpires to come in and have an opinion, but be slow. So if I have a deer in the headlights look, or if I don't rule on it, you may have to come in and save me or make a ruling on that play. It's 6-1, half it of the other. A lot of guys will just say, take it all the way. I'm going to give that up as a plate umpire. A few guys will say, I want you to come in and have an opinion and be ready to make a ruling on that play. But we have to be alert in those situations as the wing umpires, because we have a lot of potential for the plate umpire to get screened out on these plays. So something to pregame. Definitely one of the nuances to the 3-umpire system that you can't do in the 2-umpire system. Because you don't have guys on both wings. Because if you have a runner on third, you don't have anybody on. Another situation, and I'll see if I can just put a line out here. That's not going to work. So we have our runner's lane, right? On a ball hitting the plate area, which I know we talked about a few weeks ago, right? We can basically go from the 45 to the mound. Anything in here, I typically will say it's coming from the plate area. And we have a potential for runner's lane interference. U1 is not going to have to come very far off the line for this play, right? It used to be you wanted to get out here for this look because the first baseman was stretching towards home. That doesn't happen anymore. Possible to see what is happening throughout the entirety of the play, and not just what should happen.
There are no magic spots.
Agreed, 100%. Magic spots only work if they do exactly what they're supposed to do and hit the first baseman in the chest with every throw every time, which never happens. So,
yeah, that might be where baseball is played in heaven.
Any questions on the 3-umpire system? Responsibilities, plays, wacky scenarios. All right. Nobody else has any questions. That's all I've got for today. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Larry, thanks for your input. Thanks for hopping on and helping out with this. So I think this is the last one we will probably do for the summer. So thank you all for your time. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you back in the spring.
Yeah, let's hopefully there's no more mask wearing.